let's take a look at how this works. To begin with, this is the letter Aleph. It's the first letter, so it's also number 1. All right? That letter right there is how they write the number 1. Just like in Latin, a V is a 5 and X is 10. In Hebrew, that is how they draw the number 1. So it's the first letter, Aleph, and it's also a number. Every Hebrew letter is also a word. So if you have a 4-letter word, you literally can have 4 words within the word. Okay, that's another level of understanding. For example, you can hear when I say the letter Aleph, you hear the L and the F sound, right? So this is the letter Aleph. Here is it as a word phonetically sounded out, Aleph. Now to see all the little dots underneath there, you're going to end up learning those. It's not real difficult. That's something Sherry will be sharing. Oh, this is Sherry Lush. Let's give Sherry Lush a big hand here. You all know her, and she's going to be our teacher as well, teaching you some incredible things. But anyway, I wanted you to notice that those, just like in a dictionary, you know when you're learning how to pronounce a word, like the letter A, it has a straight line, it's A. If it has a little kind of a semicircle, it's A. If it has a dot, it's Ah. You know what I'm talking about? Well, that's what, instead of vowels in Hebrew, they have the little dots and dashes so you know if it's the A, U sound, okay? So there's only 22 letters instead of 26. You actually have 4 less letters to learn. But I want you to notice, Aleph in Hebrew is ox, okay? So I want you to notice, here is the second letter in Hebrew is the bait. The 5th letter is the hey. The 10th letter is the yud. But I want you to know that the letter Aleph, you saw how it looked in modern Hebrew, but here's how Moses wrote that letter. He drew the picture of an ox because it means ox. David, 500 years later, drew it like that. You can still see the ox head. Okay, so languages evolved, the alphabet evolves. So you can see the evolution of the Aleph, meaning an ox, like Moses, like David. Beit in Hebrew means tent or house. So Moses drew the picture of a 3-room house for the letter because it's also a word. David drew a tent on a landscape. It's still his house. It's a tent. Okay, so Beit, like how many of you heard of Bethlehem? Bethlehem is really Beit Lechem. Beit is house, Lechem is bread. So the bread of life was born in a town known as the house of bread. Beit Lechem, Bethlehem. Hey means to behold. It's like a person standing there like going, hey. Okay, look over here. It means to reveal. Yud is a hand, so they drew a hand. So basically, I just wanted you to see how every letter is a word, and it has a picture meaning as well, and it's a number. Okay, how in the world did it go from an ox or a bull? How many of you heard of the alphabet? It didn't come from the Greek. It comes from the Hebrew, the Aleph Bet. And here's how it became our A. From Moses to David to our modern letter A. How about the bait? Where did the bait come from? It came our letter B. Okay, ancient Hebrew, much of our English language comes from the Hebrew rather than from the Greek. So now let's see if you guys can read the Dead Sea Scrolls. Are you ready? Here we go. Watch this. This is how Moses wrote a word, okay, and how David, these are the same letters, but you can see how it has evolved. Well, what do you think that is? Father, Av, Dad. Okay, look at this. Oops, not that. This. Okay, who is the ox of the house? Dad. This is Abba is daddy, Av is father. So when Moses wrote the word father in the Torah, he drew the picture of an ox in a house. David drew an ox in a house. That's the Aleph Beit, like daddy, dad, Abba, Av. So when Moses wrote the word dad or father, is he not your father in the Torah portion this morning? That's how Moses wrote the word for father. He drew the picture of an ox in a house because he's the ox of the house. See how simple that is? I know you see it. Okay, now, notice this. Here is Psalms 119. Okay, and I don't know if you guys knew this, but Psalms 119 is actually a tribute to the Hebrew alphabet. But first, I want you to notice something. You notice how verse 1 is an Aleph, verse 2 is a Beit, verse 3 is a Gimel, verse 4 is a Dalet. Okay, see, those are numbers of the Hebrew alphabet that are also verses. But what most people don't realize, Psalms 119, the first 8 verses, let me go back for a second. let me do it this way. Sorry. Oops. I want to do this. Okay, notice how verse 1 of Psalms 119, happy are those whose way is blameless. They do no iniquity. You have commanded, oh, that my ways. You notice the first letter of every verse is different depending on the English word. But in Psalms 119, every verse begins with the letter Aleph, a word that begins with Aleph. And so the first 8 letters of Psalms, or the first 8 verses of Psalms, all begin with the letter Aleph. The next 8 verses all begin with the letter Beit, or B. The next 8, so it's actually a tribute to the Hebrew alphabet, and I wanted you to see that that's how it was done. So they're all Aleph. Now let's take a look at the names of God. God is first, God is one, and that's why all of God's name, or many of them, begin with the letter Aleph. When he said to him, I am that I am, that's the word Eyeh, Asher, Eyeh. That is his name. Notice the other names for God. El, Elohim. They begin with the letter Aleph. How about Adonai? Begins with the letter what? See, you already recognize the letter. Okay, God is Echad, right? There's the word Echad, or unity. What letter does it begin with? Aleph. God is love. Guess what? The word for love begins with what letter? Aleph. God is light. What do you think the Hebrew word for light is? It begins with the letter Aleph. It's Or. God is the Aleph. He's the Aleph and the Tav. God is a consuming fire. What does it begin with? Aleph. Man is created in God's image, so we find Adam begins with the letter Aleph because we're created in God's image. The fascinating thing about the Hebrew word for man, there's several names, there's like 5 names for man in Hebrew. One of them is Ayish, which is man. And so it also begins with Aleph because we're created in God's image. But how do you know some people don't believe we were created in God's image? We came from a rock. Remember? Our rock's not like their rock. Our rock's the real rock. Okay. Do you know what happened if you take God's image away from man? You take the Aleph away, you have the Hebrew word for just a mere substance. Without God in our life, that's what we become, is just mere substance. God is our Father, Av. That's the modern Av. Okay, but in the ancient picture language, it would have been the ox and the house. Okay, your mother. He's our mother and our father. Im is mother, begins with Aleph. God is faithful, right? And we say amen. That's the Hebrew word amen. Amunah, faithfulness. God is truth. Okay, emet. But notice both amen and emet begin with the first 2 letters forming mom. Mom is the one who is faithful. Mom is the one who's supposed to be the truth bearer. Okay? Now, how about brother? Do you know brother in Hebrew is ach? Okay? Well, do you remember now the aleph means what? Ox, that which is strong. You're going to find in Hebrew the letter ach is a fence. So a brother is a strong fence. He's the one you're supposed to be protecting each other. And then, of course, he is the aleph and the tav. Don't think of alpha and omega. That's Greek. Go to the aleph and the tav. And the amazing thing about the aleph and the tav, the aleph, which is the number 1, has a symbolic picture of and means strong, as an ox is strong. It means that which goes first, that which carries the load, like the ox carries the load. Did you know the ancient tav is where we get our teeth from? It's the cross. The aleph tav is the strong covenant. It's God nailed to that covenant. That he is our faithful God. He is strong. Okay, so what do we know about the letter aleph? It is the number 1. It's the symbolic picture of and that means strong. See how simple, you already got aleph down. Do you see how simple that was? And then what we're going to do as we go through these weeks, we're going to look at the next letter next week, and then we're going to start building words. And you just work on this one letter this next week. That's all I have to work on is one letter. And you're going to see by the end of 22 weeks, every one of you, I promise you, will be able to read and write Hebrew. You'll know the meaning of the symbolic name, the word picture in its number. Isn't that great? So now I'm going to turn it over to Sherry.
All right. And I'm not Mike.
Well, here you are. Yes, you are. You most certainly are.
Thank you.
Do you want me to hold your paper so you can
that's all right.
write and talk and?
I'll set something down. That's
Okay.
All right. I want to connect this.
Hold it close to your mouth. They can't hear you.
Just a little more.
To the scriptures. So I see a lot of you have something to write with. Isaiah 53:7 says, and I'm going to go through these because Aleph makes no sound. It is a totally silent letter. So here we go. Isaiah 53:7. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before his shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. Luke 23:9 says, Herod questioned Jesus at great length, but he gave no answer. He was silent. And this connects with the letter Aleph, because when you go to begin reading, you are going to only pronounce the vowel sound under the Aleph, because the Aleph is silent.
Oh, let me jump in real quick. I just want to jump in real quick. No. God's name, Elohim. The verse he just read, as a sheep before a shearer is silent, that's the Hebrew word Elim, which is the Aleph, Lamed, and Mem. So in God's name itself, the beginning and the ending letters mean silent. The middle word of Elohim is Oi, which is great grief and sorrow. So the very name of God, Elohim, means one who is silent in his grief.
Yes, it's an amazing letter. Okay, now the sages all say that every Hebrew letter is formed of other letters, other Hebrew letters. So it is not like English, it is not like our alphabet, but every letter has amazing hidden treasures in it, and we're going to find out what these are today. Though Aleph is silent, it has so much to tell us, and we're going to start unwrapping it. So let's learn how to write it, because you need to practice writing this letter during the week, okay? Y'all have something to write with, I hope? All right, let's go. And remember, Hebrew goes this way. Okay, so first we're going to start at the top of the line, and we're going to draw a straight line down to the bottom line, but it's going to slant from left to right. So watch me the first time. Okay, that's the first line.
You're
All
in
right.
the way of it up there.
Yes.
Kind of slide to one side so they can
Okay.
see it. There.
Oh, they changed on me. Okay.
Oh, there you are. There you are. That's perfect. That's perfect.
All right. Then we're going to start again at the top, a little ways over, and we're going to draw a curved line to the middle of our first line. Okay, everybody got it? Okay, now we're going to start right where the other curved line stopped, and we're going to draw a curved line down to the line. And there you have an Aleph. It's three strokes.
You did it! You did it!
Woohoo! Let's do it again, all right? We're going to have this straight line that goes from left to right, and then we're going to have the curved line that comes down to the middle, and from the middle, the other curved line that goes down to the line. Got those three strokes? All right. So now we're going to look at what this Aleph, which Hebrew letters make up this letter Aleph. So I'm going to introduce new letters to you. Don't feel overwhelmed. It's really fun.
And we'll cover it down the road anyway.
And we'll review these over and over and over. Okay, so the first letter was the straight slanted letter. And in this case, this is the Vav. Okay?
Which is normally straight down.
It's usually up and down, but they change positions, and sometimes they curve a little, but that's okay. It's a Vav, and a Vav means man, and a Vav is a connector. So get in your minds the idea of a connecting man, okay? Then we had the Yud. Now notice that Yud is reaching down from heaven, right? It's reaching down. It's a hand. Yud is a hand. This is Yud. and it's a hand.
In that little picture, it was the elbow with the fingers open that I showed you in the picture language.
And then we have the other Yud, and that's the hand reaching up to heaven.
Remember
Now-
the famous picture of the hand reaching down and the hand reaching up?
Yes. Okay, what's connecting the hand reaching down and the hand reaching up? Wow, you guys are fabulous. Yes, it's the connecting man. Who's the connecting man from heaven to earth? Yeshua. Exactly. Now look at the gematria of this letter. This is amazing. Okay, so as Pastor Mark said, every Hebrew letter is also a number, right? So we're going to take this Aleph apart into its individual letters, and we're going to have a Vav, a Yud, and a Yud. Okay. All right, so a Vav is 6, a Yud is 10, and another Yud is 10. And what does that equal? 26. Now look at this. In case you're still wondering that this Aleph represents God, look at this. We have the Yud, Hey, Vav.
Stop just a minute.
Yes.
We'll draw a little line there, so you're not going to erase God's name. You want to
What?
put. You don't want to erase God's name. So that when you erase it, it's not really God's name. You understand the concept?
I got it.
Okay.
All right, so now we're going to put the numerical value for each letter, which is 10, 5, 6, and 5. Now add those together, and what do you get?
26.
26. Look at this. The Aleph and the Yud He Vav He are exactly the same gematria. Aleph represents God. It's an amazing thing. And there it is in the gematria. Did you want to wrap it up?
Oh, go finish. I'll let you finish.
No, I'm finished. So that's our Aleph. Do you want to practice writing it again? All right, let's practice. Because once we get to the letters with the sounds, I want you to practice. You have to practice because they're amazing. You're practicing with these letters that are life. They really are. They're life. Okay, so we're going to draw the line from the top to the bottom, slanting from left to right. Okay, you can lift your pencil, come to the top line, draw a curved line down to the middle, and then draw a curved line down from the middle to the bottom. Okay,
And then I'll add this. The reason why the Vav represents man is because the Vav is the sixth letter. Man was created on the sixth day.
Yes.
And when you think of Jacob's ladder connecting heaven and earth, think of that slanted ladder as the Vav. Yeshua is that ladder that where God is reaching down to man. It is only through the cross as we reach up, that letter Vav, that we can reach God.
Yeah, that's the two hands reaching to each other, connected by the cross. Okay, so one more time. It's a straight line slanting from right to left. Come back up to the top, make a curved line to the middle of the Vav and down to the bottom line.
Let's give Sherry a big hand.